What's up, guys? It's Matt here with Tanks Lawn Maintenance. It is currently 10:22 p.m. Tuesday night, July the 23rd, 2024, year of our Lord. I want to talk to y'all for a minute. I know a lot of new guys out there probably struggling with some of the same stuff I was trying to figure out when I first started my business. And I want to give you some ideas of what you can do to create enough revenue in your business to help you go full time quicker. There's so many things that there's so many things you can do to get to that point. So many things, and a lot of it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. But there is one thing you can do that will help you out immensely, and that is focus on route density. I know when I first started out, man, I was traveling up to an hour to cut one or two lawns and driving 45 minutes back towards my house to cut three or four lawns, and then finishing up in my neighborhood cutting two or three lawns. And because of the driving, I would be working from sun up to sundown just to really to only cut 6 or 7 lawns, and doing anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of drive time in a day really is ridiculous when it comes to business, especially in this business, doing lawn and landscape, unless you're doing a high ticket job like a huge sod install where you're making 10 or 12 grand, you know. But even then, you would have to be able to get it done in 2, maybe 3 days to be profitable, because especially once you start hiring employees, you know, you've got to think about windshield time, which is the time that you are paying your employee to ride in the truck. Those are what's considered non-billable hours. So what you can do, you know, I understand when you're starting out, you've got to take what you can get, and I understand that 100%. Because Lord knows I had to do the same thing, and you know, especially if you starting out, you probably can't afford to have a website. You probably don't know about starting a Google business profile. Probably the only thing you have is your Facebook page, maybe some door hangers or some business cards or something like that. But I do highly recommend getting a Google business account. It's absolutely free, and it will get your business to the next level, get you that much closer to going full time. It will help you pick up customers closer to your target area. And once you start your business profile, you'll see why it's that way. It's a little too much to explain, but I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. But over a period of time, when I first started out, I was only working 3 days. I was working in my business 3 days. I was working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and driving, like I said, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day, getting 6 lawns in a day. You're not, I mean, you think about it, six lawns a day, 3 days a week. That's not much. That's 18 lawns a week. That's not much at all. There's a lot of people out there that can do that in a day, and but they have route density. So what I started doing is I made it a point to stop taking lawns on that were more than 30 minutes from my house. And what I did is, if somebody would reach out to me, whether it be phone call, text, email, Facebook message, whatever it was, I would always ask them where they're located. And meaning, if you're not located in the Columbia County area, I'm not coming out. And I would fulfill my obligations to my customers that I already had picked up, and then I would start filling in the gaps, steadily getting closer and closer and closer to the house. And as I would get closer to the house, once I would run out of time, I would start dropping my furthest customer out. And over a period of time, you will build up a decent route. And especially once you get to a point where you're only 5 or 10 minutes away at the furthest point in your day. And that's how you get to a point where you're doing 12, 13, 14 lawns in a day as a solo operator. You've got to focus on route density. But I would start filling in the gaps and start dropping some of my furthest customers. And then once it got to a point to where I wasn't able to pick up any more customers, but I still wasn't at the point where I was ready to go full time, I did several things. I started adding services. Like when I first started out, all I was doing was cutting grass. I started adding bush trimming. That did fairly well for me. I started adding pine straw and mulch installation. That did fairly well for me. Then I started tree pruning. That did fairly well for me. I've always done leaf and debris cleanups in the fall and the winter just to keep me busy during the cool months, during the dormant season. But I only did that when I wasn't cutting grass. But I started adding services. That helped me out. It started creating revenue. Well, once it got to a point to where I couldn't take on any more loans, and I was almost to a point to where I could go full time, but I still wasn't quite there yet. Anytime I would get a new customer, I would do what I call a semi-contract. What I would do is just say it's a customer that wants bi-weekly mowing. I would do 20, I would add up 23 services, whatever the cost is to cut their grass. Just say it's $60. I would take 60, multiply that by 23, and then whatever that is, I would I would divide that by 12. And if they told me they wanted their bushes trimmed, I would give them a minimum of 3. Sometimes it would be 4, just depending on what types of bushes it was. And there's some that I have it to where they're getting their bushes trimmed every month, once a month during the growing season. And I would take that and divide it up, or I would multiply that by whatever the price was going to be. Just say it's going to be $2.25 to trim somebody's bushes. I would multiply that by however many times I was going to do that throughout the year, divide that by 12. And if there was any other service that they wanted throughout the year, just say they wanted to get their beds sprayed once a month during the growing season, I would, however long or however much it was going to cost to do that, I would multiply that by how many times I was going to do it and divide it by 12. And I would take those sums, add them all together, and I would come up with a monthly payment like that. And that helped me out even more. And then after that, I started playing around a little bit. And I would miss out on opportunities, but at the same time, I was at a point where I couldn't take on any more customers. And if I was going to sign somebody else up for service, it was going to have to be a significant amount of money for me to do that. So what I would do is I would raise my price. I went up $10 per service on my minimum. I went from 60 to 70 for minimum for any new customer that I picked up. And anytime a new customer would call me, if it was going to be $70, I would drop my cheapest customer. It sounds terrible, but it's business. You have to look out for yourself and you have to look out for your business, and sometimes you have to do what's necessary to get to the next level. And like I said, it sounds terrible, but it's just business, man. You've got to do what you got to do. But finally, I did that enough. Finally, I got my routes down to where I had 3 routes every week, to where I was doing anywhere from 35 to 40 lawns a week in 3 days. Or, well, I'm sorry, I say 3 days. I was doing 35 to 40 lawns a week, 3 days that I was working all day, and then throughout the week I would work an hour or two every day, sometimes 4 hours, just depending on what time I got off work. I got off work at different times every day. But I did that to the point to where I had no more time left to do anything, and it was impossible for me to make any more money. And at the job I had, I was making really good money. I was making six figures, and but the reason I quit is because I just got tired of being a slave to another man. But I got close enough to where, and I saved some money too. I had a lot of things saved up, and I also put back 4 months worth of bills. That way, if my first year full time didn't work out, if I didn't make enough money in that first year, I would have 4 months saved up for the cold months, and praying that the next year would generate enough revenue. And that's the name of the game, man. You've got to take a risk. I mean, you're never going to be successful if you don't take risks in life. But that really just depends on you and what you expect and what you want out of life and how hard you're willing to work. But that's how I did it, man. I focused on route density, and once I got to a point where I couldn't take on any more work, my routes were full, cram-packed, I was within 5, 10, 15 minutes from the house, I would start taking on higher ticket properties and charging more and dropping my lowest customers. And after 2 years, I got to that point. But that's just the way I did it. And it may work like that for you, it may not. Really just depends on your market and what services you can do and what services you're wanting to do. But just wanted to put that out there in case any of you were looking at ways you could hurry up and speed the process up to where you could leave your full-time job. But I think it was I want to say it was Jonathan down at Florida Turf Pros that actually shared that on a YouTube video, and I put it into I put that plan into action, and it helped me out. But give it a shot if you're trying to get to the next level, and you really don't have anything to lose. You know, I'm not saying go out there and screw over your loyal customers, but if you're driving anywhere from 30, if you're driving more than 20 minutes to cut 2 or 3 lawns, you're missing out on opportunity closer to your house. You really are. And but starting out, I get it. You got to do what you got to do to generate some revenue, man. But try not to do that forever. But hopefully this helped y'all out a little bit. And if you got anything out of it, like this video and consider subscribing to the channel. But I'm going to hop off here, man. And till the next one, y'all keep cutting that grass and keep making that money. Holler at y'all. Bye.